I think it's just to get some fresh legs. I'm happy with Joe and Mason, and they've been a bit banged up in terms of the games they're playing, and just with France a little bit more experience as well.
Was there anything in that, I guess there's less to be gained from exposing them against an informed French side at this stage of their career? You know, the negatives could outweigh the positives.
No, that wasn't the thinking behind that. In terms of, I said, they would have learned a lot from last week's experience, and they're building the combination. And I said it was for us. We had some sore bodies in that after last weekend, and like I said, it was about giving some players an opportunity, bring some experience back, and freshening up some of the guys in the squad.
Rhys Dammit at fullback, his third start in that position. What would you like to see from him then? I'm guessing Halfpenny's fully fit, given he's taken a place on the bench.
Yeah, it's just getting some of our players, obviously, with some speed, and that we want to see how he goes. It's something in terms of there's not a lot of depth in Wales in terms of that position and guys, so he gets a chance there. Expect a lot of kicking from France on Saturday. I mean, they kicked the ball 42 times last week, and even they won by 50 points. So and he's got a good boot on him and things. So we know we're going to be in a little bit of a kick battle, but there will be opportunities for us to shift the ball and hopefully use his space to do that, and give Rio and Josh Adams an opportunity to get their hands on the ball and hopefully make some space and create something.
Did France's performance beat England alter your selection plans for this match at all?
No.
Up front, Jack Morgan, just elaborate on his injury. Is that the only injury concern you've got in camp?
He's just rolled his ankle, or someone fell on it on Tuesday, and so it was a great opportunity for Aaron Wainwright, who's had a chance in this camp. We've been impressed with the way that he's trained. He's still a young man, and I've seen him that he's matured well. He's got some size about him. He's dynamic and explosive. Probably his biggest work on is just making sure he stays engaged and switched on for the whole 80 minutes, because we know what he can do with the ball in hand. And so it's just those moments that when, say, there's a kick battle, your job to get back and work hard and stay in that moment is the work on for him. But we've been pleased with the way that he's been going in this campaign.
Talked a lot about the need to go big physical six. That was something you identified when you came in. Is Christians is still part of that conversation? What was the reasoning behind him not being here?
The reasoning behind him not being here was that we didn't pick him for the Italy game, so he stayed behind. He wasn't part of the 23, and then we felt that we weren't going to probably involve him potentially this week. Selection wasn't until Monday, so we would have flown him out on Sunday, and then he would have had to fly back to Exeter on the Tuesday if he wasn't involved. He's got quite a lot of things going on at the moment with exams coming up and bits and pieces and dissertation and stuff. So he's still a young man, and just making sure that he had the opportunity to get those things right. Been pleased with him in terms of the way he's working. By his own admission, he wasn't happy with the last couple of games that he's played and been a bit disappointed, but he's definitely one for the future.
Have you ever coached against Sean Edwards before, as someone you know very well? What was that experience for that?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure he'll be pretty pumped up this weekend, and obviously it was fantastic performance from them last week against England. They'd be disappointed with the loss in Dublin, but they've kind of they would have probably been a little bit mixed. They were probably a little bit lucky to get out of the game against Italy, in a game they potentially could have lost, but then had a couple of good performances in game against Scotland. Been a little fortunate with the two red cards. They could have been potentially in a bit of trouble if Scotland hadn't had a red card as well, but definitely last week's performance was outstanding.
And just finally from me, are you viewing this as a last chance to impress for some players?
No, it's not a last chance. If I look at the squad, there's going through this. There's up to 8 players in there who are potentially or probably playing their last Six Nations game. And we've got to think about building for a World Cup this year, but also thinking about 2027. And you need to bring in some players, and you need to some younger players in the squad and give them that time to develop. And because the ideal scenario is you want to get to World Cup with sort of a squad in sort of mid to late 20s, or had 40 or 50 caps, and that's that sort of number. So that's some of the thinking behind the selection. For the guys who've been great servants for Welsh rugby, but probably be involved in the last Six Nations game. So it's about, message to them is about, enjoy the occasion, enjoy the moment, and the experience, and because for a lot of them it's the last time they're going to do that.
Sorry, I said finally, but would you be remiss not to ask about back in June 2011, you gave him his first cap. You foresee him reaching this milestone? Oh, it's an unbelievable achievement for what he's done in the game. He's been an incredible servant to Wales. Still as quiet as ever and doesn't say a lot. And but he's, I can remember the early days when he came out of the Dragons, never missed a training session, was available every week. You look at his record, how many times he started and played early on in his career. That was incredibly impressive. He was unlucky when he went to Bath, and the amount of injuries that he did pick up there. He's been brilliant for the Lions as well. And just great accolade for him and his family, and they're going to be there on Saturday, and something we need to celebrate, and he needs to enjoy it, and hopefully the players go out there and perform and make it special for him.
Okay, so that's the end of the live section there. So it's over for the people watching on Zoom. Thank you.
Playing France and the start of France in Paris, pretty special, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the French fans themselves are a special crowd to play against. No matter what kind of French team you're going to play, that it's going to be an experience. So I think I'm excited to go out there and enjoy the atmosphere.
It's a pretty good French side who played last weekend. What are their strengths?
Obviously, they're a good French side. They've got big forwards. Obviously, as you saw last week against England, and also they got good backs. So I think they got a good combination between their 9 and 10, and they got a good kind of structure to the way they play. So it's more try not to let them play too much and get the crowd behind them, because then they'll start going on the front foot. Then
Penno's an impressive winger, somebody you come up against on the weekend.
Yeah, he's an impressive winger. You got to respect wingers. I respect all the wingers I play against. I think every winger in the Six Nations they're there for a reason. So I think it should be a good challenge, and I'm looking forward to it.
Back three, Lewis Roussam and Josh Adams as well. Plenty of pace there. You looking forward to that?
Yeah, I think that was a combination we've done in the autumns as well. So I think it's a nice mix up of attack and rugby, and I think with some space, if we get it on the weekend, that we'll be able to exploit it.
Last few months, Wales debut and coming here, it's just gone really well for you, isn't it?
Yeah, I've just been enjoying my rugby, really. I think that's the main thing about those few months at club rugby and here. It's just enjoying what you do, and then everything just goes and falls into place. So I think that's the main thing I've just taken day by day, is just enjoying what I do.
Right, just one question for me. How much have you learned from these games? You played against the All Blacks on the debut, played against top teams. France is going to be another one. What are some of the things that you've learned from exposing yourself to this higher level?
I think personally, myself is like you've still got a lot to learn. You can see some of the players you're coming against probably have 50 plus caps, and you can realise the difference between that and someone who's obviously just started in the mix, and how you can be exposed at little tiny things that you probably wouldn't at another level. So I think that's the main thing I personally taken, is that you can't really switch off at all, and if you give that 10% less, that obviously you're going to get punished for it. So I think that's the main thing I've taken from it.
Do you feel that you've made strides in that short time since the autumn in this campaign as well?
Yeah, I think obviously I still got a lot to learn. I don't mind, mistakes are going to be made, but it's about what you do after making them mistakes. So I'll look throughout the week and try and work on it. I'll go to the coaches, and I'm here to try and push my game as far as I can go. And I think if the mistakes happen, then it's on me and my responsibility to then try and put it right. So yeah.
Warren spoke about how sort of transition and can be a big part of Wes's attack in sort of the World Cup. How exciting is it for you that that's such a big facet of the game, because it just gives you your hands on the ball in space?
Yeah, well, the rugby I love is running rugby, obviously being a winger. So I think that kind of counter-attacking kind of rugby probably favours what I like to do. So I think going forward into the World Cup, if we can get that nailed on, I think we can cause some real damage.
I noticed you and Josh were trying a few pick and goes around fringes early on in Rome. Where's that from? That's sort of 2019 sort of Warren Gatland hallmark. Is that who's pushing that?
Yeah, it's a new kind of move that's coming. I'm not really used to being around the rucks myself, not being the biggest of players, but I'll just go, I guess, get stuck in, so I don't mind.
Obviously, kick chase is a massive part of the game. You know, chase cameras, kicks again.
Yeah, I think in club rugby and here, I do chase a lot of kicks. I don't mind chasing kicks. I think it's probably a bit of the game no one really looks at, but if you put that effort in, I could chase 100 kicks and that one bounce like you saw in Rome comes off, and then that just puts that work you put onto the chasing into, it's like a reward then. So I'm happy.
How much time sort of during the training would you spend on it's the skill that sort of people don't recognise? Is that sort of thing? You've got Hugh Benny with the turtle or whatever it is on his back, sort of.
Yeah, so I say every training session, even in the training session and after the training session, we're doing kick chases non-stop, basically trying to perfect our techniques. So I think no matter what, you're never going to be perfect, but trying to get to that perfection is what we're trying to do.
You're still a young player, discovering test rugby, but at the same time, there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes in the Welsh rugby. For you as a young player, how do you deal with the kind of like two pressures, like the rugby one and all the rest? How do you deal with that?
I think it's just taking back to why you actually started playing rugby. Is, like I've said, I play it to enjoy it. So I think that's the main thing, is going out there, leaving all the negativity, because I think throughout a long time there's probably been negativity everywhere, and trying to shut that off whilst you can, basically, and just trying to focus on what you're here to do and enjoying it as much as you can. I think that's the main thing. As being a youngster personally, I've tried to do.
Warren Gatland told us just before that the last 2 weeks he felt he could really focus on rugby for the first time since the Six Nations started. Do you agree with that? That now it's a little bit easier for you players to focus on rugby?
Yeah, I think there's obviously been out of pressure back in Wales. That's for other players and for the whole of Welsh rugby, it's probably been a difficult challenge. But now we're out in a different place in the sun, not the snow and rain. I think that's probably just brought the morale up a bit for the boys, and I think obviously is a big part of what we're trying to do and what we're trying to take into Rome, especially, is just trying to enjoy the rugby, enjoy the little moments. So I think out here, especially when you have a good group of boys that stick together, it's been good.